Hello.
Hi, Matt. Can you hear me? Oh, no, here we go.
Hi. Good morning, Mr. Prime Minister. My name's Gemma Austin. I own a restaurant in Northern Ireland. I was just coming on today because I was thrilled that you and the Chancellor recognised the enormous pressure the hospitality sector is under and responded in the budget by giving a 75% rates discount to hospitality, leisure, and retail. That was a really important input to a vital sector of our economy. Due to businesses in Northern Ireland, however, being caught in the middle of a political impasse, I ask what you and the Secretary of State will do to ensure businesses like my own uh, aren't forced to wait for a political resolution at Stormont before we benefit from the vital support. Obviously, rate bills are coming through the door at the minute, and without immediate help, it will see businesses like mine facing closure. What can you do really to help us in this sector of Northern Ireland while we have no functioning government?
Well, Gemma, thanks for all your hard work. And also, that's why I tried very hard to make sure we could implement the Windsor framework to bring a bit more certainty and stability to Northern Ireland. It was great to be there last week to celebrate the anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement, and hopefully that will allow us to move forward and bring the stability that you and I both believe your businesses and many other people in Northern Ireland deserve. On your question on rates, I think the Northern Ireland Secretary of State has recently frozen non-domestic rates for the forthcoming year, so hopefully that will help you. But I agree with you, the most important thing is for us to get the institutions in Northern Ireland back up and running, and that's how we can move forward in Northern Ireland to make sure everyone can have a bright future. Who's next?
Prime Minister, good morning.
Morning.
Prime Minister, my name's Hugh Andre. I'm a former British Army officer, and 13 years ago I set up a company called Force Select with General Sir Mike Jackson and Andy McNabb to help veterans find employment. To date, we've put over 4,000 veterans into employment, and it's noticeable that there is a sizable cohort of 40 to 60-year-old veterans who, for various reasons, never got any funding when they left the military pre-2007. Now, last year we had a shortage of aviation engineers to go on for Typhoon Eurofighter because of what was happening in Ukraine. We were asked to provide additional engineers. There weren't any. So what we did was to upskill former Tornado engineers who, of course, jumped at the chance to get from behind bars, delivering food and veg, and going back into a more STEM-focused type role where they could really contribute to our country, add value, and indeed get back some self-esteem. So my question is, could the government do more to provide funding for either employers or the veterans themselves at that 40 to 60-year-old age group, which I know has been of great interest to you and for the wider country, to get people back to work, because they would jump at the chance to retrain and contribute further.
Well, Hugh, thanks for your service, and also thanks for what you do. It's actually personally really important to me that our country is the best place in the world to be a veteran. I think that's what we owe to people like you who have served and sacrificed for us, and we saw a great example of that over the weekend with the incredible bravery of our armed forces in rescuing our diplomats from Sudan. Now, that's why we have a Veterans Minister in Cabinet, Johnny Mercer, and Johnny's doing a superb job. The Chancellor also provided tens of millions of more funding for veterans' causes in the recent budget, which gives you hopefully some confidence that this is something we care about. One thing I would highlight, and I'd love to keep talking to you to get more ideas, is when I was Chancellor, we introduced a National Insurance Employers Holiday. Yep. So if you take on a veteran in your business, you won't pay any employer's national insurance for 12 months as an incentive to hire veterans. But what I'd love to hear from you, and hopefully if you can email me, what you think the specific barriers are at that 40-plus age group, and we can look to work with you to try and break those down. But thank you for the work you do. It's incredibly important.
Thank you very much, Promise.
Right, who's next?
Good morning, Mr. Prime Minister.
Hi, morning.
My name is Luke Sims. I am a student in Sweden. However, I'm British originally. As a student, I can assure you that I've used my fair share of artificial intelligence in the last few months, whether it be through researching or just day-to-day queries. And I think we've all seen a massive boom in artificial intelligence, both capabilities and accessibility. So therefore, my question to you is, how will the UK regulate artificial intelligence to ensure that it can grow at a steady rate and prevent scenarios in which it becomes uncontrollable and potentially malicious? Thank you very much.
Luke, good to hear from you. Actually, James, right at the beginning of this session, was talking about how AI can transform society and the economy, and you can see that already, whether it's on drug discovery, whether it's on driving, driverless cars, or indeed combating fraud. Now, what I'd say is, in the short time we have, I'll go and point you to our AI white paper, which we published just a few weeks ago, which outlines our approach to regulating AI. I think it's the right approach. It will be adaptive, it's principles-based, it allows us to take advantage of the opportunities that we think will be there, but also make sure that there are safeguards in place and that we can iterate as we go. But it's a really good paper, the AI white paper. It's online, go and have a look at it, and I think you'll like what you see. Right, let's move on. Who's next?
Good morning, Prime Minister. Great to speak to you this morning. I'm Ben Shoesmith and I work for Virgin Media O2 as an associate designer. I've just finished my apprenticeship at the company, and undertaking an apprenticeship after my A-levels was the best decision I made to kickstart my career. What is the government doing to encourage more schools and more colleges to promote apprenticeships?
Well, Ben, congratulations on your apprenticeship. I'm so glad to hear you talk so passionately about it. And I agree with you. It's such a great route in to work for young people. And I'm really glad it's worked out for you. And look, we're also lucky our education secretary, Gillian, is herself an apprentice. So there could not be someone more passionate about this route than her. I think there's one thing that we are doing that's really practical and will make a big difference. And that's putting apprenticeships on UCAS. I think all of us who have been through the school system, that whole UCAS process is very focused on university. It works brilliantly for that. But what we want to make sure is that that process also works for people who are thinking about other routes, apprenticeships. And Gillian announced a couple of months ago that we're going to bring far more apprenticeships onto the UCAS system so that young people, when they're looking at options post-school and college, will have access to all of those things, not just university, but apprenticeships too. I think it's a kind of very practical thing that will make a difference and help people realise that there's no right answer here. It's not that one is better than another, as you're a perfect example of. There are lots of different ways for people to get the job that they really want. Right, who's next?
Hi, good morning, Prime Minister.
Morning.
Morning, I'm Dana Lehane, co-founder of MYO, which is a creative arts studio based in London. And my question is, as a diverse female founder, I'm really curious to hear about what the government plans are to support female founders in starting and scaling their businesses, to help address that gender funding gap. Now, for context, my business has received great funding and support from Virgin Startup, which is a government-backed scheme. And I know they're specifically committed to supporting an equal number of male and female founders. And then over COVID, the government had some great help for small businesses. For example, the Kickstart scheme, which I know was one of your pioneering initiatives. That was fantastic for our business, the grants, the business rates reliefs. So is there anything further planned to support small businesses, but particularly for female founders?
Thanks for your question. It's such an important area, and congratulations on your entrepreneurial success. I think so. We asked Alison Rose, who runs one of our largest banks, to do a review of this area for us a couple of years ago. Alison is superb. She's actually a really inspiring female leader. And since Alison's been doing that review, we've actually seen, and we're implementing some of her findings, we've seen double the number of companies started by women than we had a few years ago. So we are making progress. One of the barriers that Alison outlined was those early years are particularly more difficult for female founders to raise money. And that was one of the reasons that we extended our tax break, the SEIS scheme, which puts money into small companies. We extended that, and that's going to be particularly valuable for female founders. But I'd be interested to hear from you if you think there are any other things that we should particularly focus on.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two things, I guess, that, the government is best placed to do. I think the first one would be around capital, ring fencing funds, ring fencing capital specifically for female entrepreneurs. That could be an avenue. And I think the second one is network. I think one of the reasons there is that funding gap is women have maybe less access to finance network than men. So if there's anything that the government can do to help those introductions and help facilitate that network, and then that creates a kind of self-sustaining opportunity for women going forward.
That's a really good point, actually, about the power of networking and mentorship. And that's a really good one, which we'll take away and see what we can do with. But thanks for joining us. I know we're running out of time, but let's try and squeeze in one or two more. Right, who's next?
Hi, Mr. Prime Minister. My name is Shaibat Sharma, and I'm the CEO and founder of Football Billionaire. And I'm also a student at City of London School. I'd like to start off by saying, as my question, how do you suggest we ensure students have a more rounded financial education to help develop the future business leaders of the UK?
Well, Shay, congratulations on your success. Oh my gosh, I mean, I was interested in businesses when I was young, but I haven't done anything like you've accomplished at your age, so congratulations. No, I think this area is really important. Actually, last week I was talking about my idea that we should study more maths, and our young people should study more maths for longer, because I think that will really help. And we're one of the few countries in the world where our children don't study maths all the way up to 18. Doesn't mean maths A-level, doesn't mean everyone has to do maths A-level, but it does mean, to your point, that people should be familiar with mathematical concepts because they're relevant for our everyday lives. You talked about financial literacy. If you want to start your own business, if you want to get a mortgage, figure out where to put your savings, and indeed for pretty much any job you can think of now, even those in the creative industries require mathematical concepts. So I think that's the right thing to do, and hopefully if we do that, we can set the conditions for many more amazing young entrepreneurs like you. But you're an inspiration to many people, I'm sure, actually, and hopefully with our maths we can create many more Shays. Thanks very much for joining us, Shay.
Thank you very much.
And thank you everyone, in fact. I've just been told we're out of time. So it's been brilliant talking to you all. Thanks for joining us today. It's the end of today's session, but it's certainly not the end of our conversation with you. We're going to keep talking, engaging, so that together we can make this, as I said right at the beginning, the most pro-business, pro-growth country in the whole world. Thanks very much.